What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 237 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for June 13th, 2018. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. We are on a bit of a short time leash here today. I do have to go off and record Wrestle Rant Radio with the one and only, at Reborn Again on the Twitter machine, John Ritland, who has a few questions I will be answering on this very show a little later on. So I got to talk to him in a little bit, so I got to cut this episode short. Usually it's like 45 to 50 minutes, if not an hour. It's probably going to be closer to like 30 minutes. Henceforth, I'm going to have to rush through some questions more than usual, so I apologize in advance. But I'm also a little tired right now, too, and usually I'm never tired, but I went to bed last night at like 3 a.m. because I went to go see a midnight showing of Incredibles 2, which isn't out until Friday. But I got to see it early last night, so worth it. Well worth staying up until 3 a.m. to watch, and also well worth the 14-year wait. Well worth it. The movie was great, so definitely check that out. Before we get started, guys, if you want to send in a question, tweet me on the Twitter machine. What are you waiting for? Tweet me at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights. And last, but certainly not least, you can drop your question down below on this very video in the comments section. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Anyway, folks, let's get started here with Brandon A. from YouTube. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here. Brandon as well as Joe M. They sent in questions for last week's show, because I did record last week's show in advance, so I appreciate everyone that sent in their questions early for last week. I recorded it after SmackDown and 205 Live just because I was so busy on Wednesday. These questions are from the previous week, but they're still relevant, so I'll be answering them here today. For Brandon, he had one question and one observation. I didn't want to ignore it. I won't read the entire comment here. You can go back and check out his question or observation, comment, whatever. Check out edition 235 of the show from 2 weeks ago. Brandon left a comment on the video talking about pretty much going more in depth with what John was talking about on that same show, about New Japan and where you can watch it, how you can check it out, how it's structured, the amount of shows they do each year, and stuff like that, and why you should basically watch New Japan. Again, I won't read the entire comment here. It's a bit long, but I do want to give Brandon a shout out and say I appreciate that. I read it in its entirety. I thought it was really very well informed. It definitely entices me to check out New Japan even more. And that he wrote that before Dominion too. I still have yet to sit down and watch Dominion. I won't be watching it in full, I'm sure, but I have yet to even watch Okada Omega and Jericho Naito. I saw highlights, I saw GIFs, I saw the results, but I have yet to watch the show. So hopefully in the coming days. But anyway, Brandon's question, as has been the case in recent weeks, my top 3 matches of the week. Good question. My top 3 matches. Now, for some honorable mentions real quick. The 6-man tag team match on 205 Live last night, which was the Lucha House Party's Kalisto, Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado taking on Drew Gulak, V. Brian Kendrick, and Gentleman Jack Gallagher, was very good. Nothing from SmackDown made my list here either. I'm trying to think if there's any match that I thought was great. Bryan and Benjamin, Shelton Benjamin and Daniel Bryan, I thought was awesome. So those are my honorable mentions for the week. But for Brandon, I mean, this is also going back to NXT last week, but there was no real must-see match on the show last week. Anyway, my top 3 matches of the week in no particular order. From Ring of Honor this past week, the Briscoes versus Roppongi 3K for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles in the main event of the show. Great match. I was not even familiar with the fact that Roppongi Vice, which was Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero, I had no clue they broke up. I had no idea. Apparently they broke up back in fucking September. It's been 9 months. I did not know that. I mean, I kind of figured because they had not been on any Ring of Honor shows and Beretta had been appearing alongside Chuck Taylor, as best friends in Ring of Honor and other promotions. So I'm not too surprised, but I had no clue. So anyway, that was a great match. Having had no familiarity whatsoever with Roppongi 3K, they really impressed me with that match on Ring of Honor TV this week. From Impact last week, also for the tag team titles, this time for the Impact tag team titles, Z&E, which was Zema Ion and Andrew Everett, took on Drago. I fucking know his name because I watch Lucha. Drago and Aerostar for the Impact Tag Team titles. A very fun match. Even Noah texted me last week. He said he was watching Impact. I think he said he was watching with his grandfather or something. And he said he loved that opening match. It went for a long time, but it was great. And went for a long time in like a good way. It got plenty of time. So I agree that match was awesome. And the third match of the week for me here, the men's Fatal 4-Way. The women's was good too. I thought the women's was also very good. But I enjoyed the men's slightly more this past week. In the main event of Raw, it was Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and Kevin Owens. Great match. Joe M. from YouTube as well. With Cedric Alexander, Buddy Murphy, and Mustafa Ali all firing on all cylinders lately in the ring, why not give them the chance to have a show-stealing triple threat match for the title on pay-per-view before throwing Hideo Itami into the mix? Hell, why not just do a 4-way with all four guys? I know they're having a triple threat match next week with Murphy, Ali, and Itami, but fuck it. I would do a 4-way with Alexander, Itami, Murphy, and Ali. Like you said, all guys. Even Itami to an extent. I thought the Akira Tozawa match was great too. But especially the first three you mentioned, Alexander, Murphy, and Ali, have been killing it like for all year round on 205 Live. Having great matches every single week. The thing with putting them in the ring on a pay-per-view, I mean, I know they were in the ring. They wrestled at WrestleMania, albeit on the kickoff show. Beyond that, I think they were also on the kickoff show at the Rumble too. The Cruiserweights were. Beyond that, they have not been on any pay-per-views for like 6 months. I don't know. I mean, the matches are great. I mean, obviously not Money in the Bank because it's this Sunday. They're doing the triple threat match next week. And also, you know, when you consider the fact that it already has 10 fucking matches on the card, including the kickoff, it would have been a little much. I mean, Chicago, in theory, would have been a great city to do that match in, considering that's where Ali is from. He's a Chicago boy. They would have been going crazy for him. They would have loved the match. But there's already way too many matches on that card. In the future, though, I'm not opposed to them putting the Cruiserweights back on pay-per-view. Despite the fact they get no storyline progression on Raw anymore, I feel like that might be done by design because Triple H has full control over the 205 Live product. I'm not sure if you would have that same control over the Cruiserweights on Raw, you know, when they appear on Raw. So it might be for the better. But yeah, 4-way, if it's not on pay-per-view, whatever, or a triple threat, doesn't really matter. If they could do that on a future episode of 205 Live, take my money. That could be amazing. Alexander and Murphy, and, you know, Alexander and Ali, too, have had some great matches, but Alexander and Murphy was one of the best matches I've seen all year to date, and it was on fucking 205 Live, which really goes to show how much the show's improved in recent months. Joe's second question: excited to see what Lio Rush can do on 205 Live, but it gets me thinking, why haven't they already put Raul Mendoza on 205 Live as well, since they really don't seem to have much plans for him in NXT, other than as an enhancement talent? That's not a bad idea. I mean, NXT needs its jobbers. They need their people that can easily lose to others, and he always makes his opponents look good. Lio Rush, the issue with him was that he was never on TV. The guy's not been on NXT TV since like January, when he got squashed by Lars Sullivan. He's only really made a handful of appearances on NXT. He lost to Sullivan. He lost to Velveteen Dream when he first debuted. He had that segment with Aleister Black where Velveteen Dream attacked him before the match with Dream. And that was really about it. The guy has not appeared in many episodes of NXT TV at all. So, and I mean, the guy is great. And I know he was kind of like, you know, working his way back up after all the heat on him late last year, which was so fucking stupid. But anyway, the talent pool right now in NXT is so stacked, putting him on 205 Live is a better bet. With Raul Mendoza, he's another guy that I think could do really well for himself on 205 Live. You know, a lot like Buddy Murphy has, and now hopefully Lio Rush and Itami too. With Mendoza, the guy's a very good wrestler. So maybe at some point, I wouldn't say right now, I think he's a good fit for NXT, even though he's an enhancement talent. Fabian Eichner, I know, was a cruiserweight at one point because he was in the CWC, albeit in the first round, but he technically was a cruiserweight at that time. And I know he's put on a ton of weight, not like fat, but like the guy is really bulked up in the last 2 years. So I don't think they would put him in the cruiserweight division. I don't know if they would put him in 205 Live because I don't even know if he makes the weight limit. Buddy Murphy did, but I don't know if Eichner would. But anyway, Mendoza on 205 Live before long could be cool, but for right now, I really don't think it's necessary. They have enough talent as it is at the moment, in my opinion. His next question, which titles, if any, would you like to see change hands at Takeover Chicago? I can't think of a single title that should change hands right now. I mean, all the championships have really changed hands in the last 2 months. Since Takeover New Orleans. We had a new NXT champion crowned in Aleister Black. We had a new NXT women's champion crowned in Shayna Baszler. We had a new NXT North American champion crowned in Adam Cole Bebe. And, I mean, I know Undisputed Era has technically been the tag team champion since December, but Roderick Strong officially filled in for Bobby Fish at that point. So we really have had new champions. We had new champions crowned at that special. You got to have takeovers every once in a while where there's not a title change. They had that in Philadelphia when I went earlier this year, and that's totally fun. You can still have a great show with no title changes. And I think that's the case here as well. It should be a great show, top to bottom. I'm looking forward to it. But, yeah, I think this is going to be one of those takeovers where no titles change hands, and I don't think any championships should change hands anyway at this point. His next question, most underrated Money in the Bank ladder match. That's a good question. It's hard to say like any Money in the Bank ladder match is underrated, because all of my favorites and all the ones that I think are like great, I feel like every Money in the Bank ladder match gets equal attention for the most part. So I hate the word underrated because it's so fucking subjective. Like, what are we going off here? Like, stars on the Meltzer scale? Like, what the fuck are we determining this off of, you know? In my mind, and here are the ones that I think are great that I'm not sure. I mean, the only match, there's no real Money in the Bank ladder match that's overrated, at least from what I've seen, from what I understand. There's a lot of Money in the Bank ladder matches that, you know, I think are all great, but the only one that I feel a lot of people could agree is like the best ever is the first one from WrestleMania 21. Everything after that, I think, is all subjective in terms of where it ranks on the list of best Money in the Bank ladder matches. So for underrated Money in the Bank ladder matches, at least in terms of matches I think are great and don't get the attention they deserve in my mind, the one from WrestleMania 24, that was won by CM Punk for the first time. That was a great match. And also the Money in the Bank ladder matches at the 2013 pay-per-view. The All-Star one was great too, but I'm talking about the SmackDown one from earlier in the evening when Damian Sandow won. That match was tremendous. I feel that might be a tad underrated. I mean, Sandow went on to do nothing, but still, he didn't cash in successfully. But the match was great. The 2016 men's Money in the Bank ladder match where Dean Ambrose won, that was great. I think that had 6 people in it. I think it was Ambrose, Jericho, Owen, Zayn, Cesaro, and Miz. No, not Miz. Who else was in that match? I don't remember. Oh, Alberto Del Rio. I think it might have been 7 people. I don't know. For some reason, I think it was 6. I'm pretty sure it was 6 people. That was a great match. And last year's men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which made event of the show, that was won by Baron Corbin. That was a very well laid out, smart match as well. I just talked about it on WrestleRant yesterday, so cheap plug. Check that show out if you haven't already, reviewing the 2017 Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And anyway, I think those are all my favorite Money in the Bank ladder matches. Are they underrated? I guess. I don't know. I don't hear people talking about the WrestleMania 24 Money in the Bank ladder match all the time, so I guess that's underrated. I don't really like questions like that because it's so subjective, but in my mind, those matches are underrated in terms of Money in the Bank. Final question here from Joe. If WWE chose to do an all-heels Money in the Bank ladder match like they did in 2013, which I just talked about, would it work? And can you choose 7 or 8 heels from Raw, SmackDown, or even NXT or 205 Live? Who do you think would be best for the match? So I didn't include 205 Live. It would have been cool. I mean, I guess if I put like Buddy Murphy in there. I did not. You know what? I might switch my prediction at my last person here for someone in 205 Live. But anyway, real quick, Andrade Sin Almas would be a perfect fit for a Money in the Bank ladder match. Samoa Joe, got to get that, the big guy in there. Joe, The Miz, both of whom are in this year's men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, I think is a given. From Raw doesn't have, I tried to do 3 from SmackDown. I thought I nailed it with those three guys. And these are all heels, too, like you said, so I can't include like Jeff Hardy or Daniel Bryan. Almost Joe and Miz. I guess you could include Nakamura, but I put in Joe and Miz ahead of Nakamura just because I think these guys would be better fits. From Raw, obviously Owens and Zayn. There's not many other credible heels from Raw that I would put in there, like a fucking Jinder Mahal, who cares? But I would put in Elias. I think Elias would be a great fit in the match. Like, see him sitting atop the ladder playing the guitar. That'd be amazing. I'm kind of sad that he's now not in this year's Money in the Bank ladder match, but nonetheless. Almost Joe, Miz, Owen, Zayn, Elias. I did 2 from NXT, but I'll switch it up and do 1 from NXT and 1 from 205 Live. I mentioned it before. Buddy Murphy. I had originally EC3 in there because he screams Money in the Bank, but I'll take EC3 out and put in Buddy Murphy. And then from NXT, Adam Cole, baby. Next question comes from Emmanuel A. on YouTube. His question was, I'm going to Money in the Bank, as am I. Hopefully I can see you there. And I'm sure the ladder matches will be great, but I must confess, I am not interested in half the card. Rousey and Jax, Bryan and Cass, B-Team versus Hardy and Wyatt. Oscar, is that even on the card? I mean, I was looking at the pay-per-view lineup the other day, and I did not see that advertised on WWE.com. I thought it might be added to the kickoff show. The SmackDown Tag Team title match is already on the kickoff show. So I don't know what's going on there, so we'll just assume it's on the card. B-Team versus Hardy and Wyatt, Asuka and Carmella, the Club versus the Bludgeon Brothers, Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn, Mahal and Reigns are all matches I have absolute minimal interest in at best to potential bathroom breaks at worst. Elias and Rollins and Nakamura and Styles should be good, even if I'm wary of the latter's outcome. But ultimately, I'm still at a measly 4 out of 10 matches. That's a still measly 4 out of 10 matches that I'm actually looking forward to. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Am I being too cynical? I'm not even motivated to watch Raw or SmackDown this week since almost nothing seems vital to catch up on. You're right. You're not being cynical at all. And you're going to the show, as am I. That's the tough thing. I'm looking forward to being there because, you live in Chicago. I have never been outside of the airport in Chicago, let alone been to a wrestling show there. So I'm excited for that. It's taking place on the 17th, a lot like July 17th, 7 years ago, one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time, Money in the Bank 2011. I think Emmanuel was at that show. I know he's talked about it here on the show before. I'm pretty sure he was at Money in the Bank 2011. I will forever be jealous of him for that. But it's crazy. You go from that pay-per-view 7 years ago to this one. This one has no fucking buzz at all. I know the most of the buzz for that show is over Punk and Cena, but, Orton and Christian was well built. The ladder matches were well built. This year, maybe it's just because the build was so long, and it's all about building momentum, like who gives a shit. But yeah, the card on paper, it has potential. It could exceed expectations. But you're right, a lot of these matches, I just do not give a shit about at all. I am in the exact same camp as you. Even down to the fact that we're both going. I'm looking forward to being there. I have never not enjoyed myself at a wrestling show of the 50 that I've gone to, including WWE shows. I may not agree with all the booking decisions, but I always enjoy myself. So in being there, I'm sure I'll love it. But as a fan watching from home, the show is not too hot on paper. So like you said, the top 2 ladder matches I'm sure will deliver, and that's really all that matters. But having this be a fucking 4 or 5 hour pay-per-view, including the kickoff, is just so unnecessary. Because a lot of these matches should not be happening on pay-per-view. I'm sorry. I know we have a loaded roster right now between Raw, between SmackDown, NXT, and even 205 Live. But some people can't always make the show. I'm sorry. I would be fine with Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn being saved for Raw over wasting time on a pay-per-view because no one gives a shit. Who cares? So you're not being cynical. You're being realistic because I completely agree, and you're far from the only one. Like you said, you're not even motivated to watch Raw or SmackDown, and why should you be? SmackDown's been enjoyable, I'll say, but it hasn't been must-see. Like, if you're not watching SmackDown, I won't give you shit for it. If you're not watching Raw, I'll praise you. Because the show has just been dull for weeks now. The show has sucked ever since right after Backlash. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. They've had enough time to build up the pay-per-view, but a lot of these matches, it doesn't really feel like there's anything at stake. And there is. We have some real good matches on this card. But it feels like just an ordinary pay-per-view and not as exciting as past Money in the Bank pay-per-view events have felt like. Anyway, CJS from Facebook, why do you believe WWE is so intent on pushing Roman Reigns? Because once Vince sets his mind to something, he's not going to give it up. At least when it comes to Roman Reigns and pushing people as the next guy. Doesn't matter how many signs say that he is not the guy, or he shouldn't be the guy, at least not right now, or that he's not, a beloved babyface. He doesn't give a shit. He's still adamant about making Roman Reigns the fucking guy. And it doesn't matter how many times he'll get booed, or how many times, he won't get the reaction they're hoping for and all this other shit. It's ridiculous. And I like Roman Reigns. It's not a fact of it could be far worse. They could be pushing fucking Mojo Rawley as the guy. Or Jinder Mahal was a different story, because Jinder fucking sucks. It wasn't like with Roman. It's two very different stories. I was unhappy with the Jinder Mahal push last year, because the guy is just not good. Even at a mid-card level, he's not that good. Let alone at the main event scene. With Roman Reigns, the guy is very good, if not great, in most departments when it comes to in the ring and even on the mic at some points. But the characterization or the character development and all this other stuff has been fucking atrocious. Fucking terrible with this guy. And they have done far more damage to Roman Reigns than they have ever done anything to help the guy. So that's really where they're fucking up with Roman. Because he could be the guy, but he's just a natural heel. If they turned him first and went back to having him be the babyface later, that's all you need. And I fucking hate this idea. And this leads into your next question. Do you think there's any one wrestler that can be the face of WWE? No, I don't. And here's the thing. We're at a point now in 2018 where there doesn't need to be a face of WWE. John Cena was a different story because he came up at a different time. But the WWE brand itself sells itself. The name WWE sells itself. If Roman Reigns isn't on the card, oh my God, I'm not going to the matches tonight. It doesn't really matter. But even someone like an AJ Styles, if he's not on the show tonight, I'll be disappointed, but I'm not going to not go. It's not like the days of old with Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bruno Sammartino. There's not one guy that they're depending on to sell their shows, which is both a good and a bad thing. In a good way, if that person ever gets hurt, they can, they have the rest of the card to hold up the show. So in a way, it's smart. And they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. So I hate the idea there needs to be a face of WWE, because beyond Roman Reigns, really, who else is there? And with Roman, they can't afford to turn him heel. Do they think ratings would bomb? They've never been worse. So why not fucking try it, Or with the fact that, business will die if Roman Reigns becomes a heel and we don't have a top babyface. You do not need a top babyface. Rollins can be your top babyface, but he doesn't even need to be the face of the company. He could be. He realistically should be. Let's be honest here. But you don't need to have that one guy to build around. With Cena pretty much out of the picture and Roman Reigns fucking floundering as a face, you don't need to have that one top face of the WWE. You can rely on everyone else. If you have a strong enough core of baby faces, it can work. You have Seth Rollins. You have Braun Strowman. You have AJ Styles. You have Daniel Bryan. Is business really going to suffer if they turned Roman Reigns heel? I don't think so. So that's my 2 cents on that. FD from Facebook, with CM Punk now being 0-2 in his UFC career, what's next for him? Do you think he's done with MMA, or any plans you expect from him? Any plans what do I expect from CM Punk? I think he should be done. I love CM Punk. You guys know I love CM Punk. He's been one of my favorites now for fucking 8 years. I don't see why he would continue to pursue. Again, if he's passionate about it, that's one thing. He tried to be better. He trained for 4 fucking years. But if you train for 4 years at something, and just at the age that he's at, he's 39, he's not going to get that much better. He just won't. I'm not saying that wrestling will define him as the only thing he's ever good at, because, he writes comics and does other stuff. But the MMA stuff just isn't his thing. That was very apparent watching his fight on Saturday. Very apparent to me that he has a lot of fucking heart. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. If you're nice to him anyway, otherwise he can be a real douche, I assume. But he has a lot of heart, and I commend him for that. But in the octagon, the guy's just not good. What the fuck were those spinning kicks? It's dude, that's amateur hour right there. It's anyone who has never trained in MMA probably knows to never do some stupid shit like that. The kicks looked fine. It was the fact that he kept twirling around. It's dude, you're letting up your back. And the other guy was a moron for not capitalizing on that. Because Punk did it like 3 or 4 times, if not more. And on the 3rd or 4th time, when he let up his back to John Jones, Jones was right there. He could have just capitalized them on him right there. They were both not good. The fight wasn't that good. I give Punk effort for trying and for sticking in there, but the other guy could have put him away at any moment. He just didn't for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. But anyway, what do I think is next for him? I have no clue. I don't think it's returning to wrestling. He made it very clear and very obvious that he has no intention of coming to All In or doing anything wrestling related ever again. And that breaks my heart, really. It doesn't have to be WWE. I would love to see him anywhere else but WWE, including WWE, but I know that's not realistic anytime soon. Wrestling is essentially out of the question. I guess you can go to Bellator. UFC should be done. The guy is just, I don't know why they put, I know why they put him on the card. The guy's a draw. And, he attracts attention and stuff, but he's just not good. At this point, he should be done with the UFC. Maybe move on to Bellator or something like that, but beyond that, I'm not sure what else he can do. Maybe he will continue to train, but watching him on Saturday, and this is only one person's opinion, he's not cut out for it. He's just not. He's just not that good. After training for 4 years and the state that his body is in after being broken down from wrestling, he doesn't have much of a future in MMA. It's just, he's not cut out for it, but that's just my 2 cents. FD's second question here, with how amazing, and all bold letters there, New Japan's Dominion show was from last weekend, it makes me wonder, do you think it made WWE Money in the Bank feel like a B show in comparison to Dominion with how WWE poorly booked their weekly shows on the road to the pay-per-view? Yeah, Dominion with New Japan and all this other stuff, like I said, Brandon kind of elaborated for me in a comment from 2 weeks ago here on the show. So again, check out 235 in the comments. Brandon left this great comment kind of detailing the layout of New Japan, how they build their shows, the appeal of the matches, stuff like that. That didn't have like the greatest build of all time because they don't have a weekly TV show like WWE does or like Impact or Ring of Honor, whatever. But the show had so much buzz that it went off without a hitch. It was one of the best shows all year. And it had some amazing, the 2 great top-tier matches in the main event and with Jericho and Naito. With Money in the Bank, they've had almost too much TV time to build to Money in the Bank. And you would think they would utilize that wisely in getting people more interested in the car week by week. But just, no, that has not been the case at all. Just the show feels completely forgettable and missable every single week, and it has been for at least a month and a half, if not 2 months. Really ever since the Superstar shakeup. But the Money in the Bank hype has been very poorly done. Dominion, that was another story. I don't even like to compare New Japan and WWE because New Japan's going to win every single time when it comes to how great their shows are. With Money in the Bank, it should not feel like a B show. That's my thing. I know Backlash was a B show, and they had fucking like a week and a half to build to it because the awful Greatest Royal Rumble show, whatever. That stupid-ass concept. With Money in the Bank, they had time to build to it, and Money in the Bank traditionally has felt like a Big 4 pay-per-view, or a Big 5 pay-per-view, whatever. But this year it just doesn't. They're in Chicago. They have some great matches towards the top of the card. But other than that, I don't know. It's just kind of there, like Emmanuel said earlier. So the build could have been way better, and this really should feel like a hotter show than it does currently. At RJ_Marso, and I might have mentioned this, by the way, a few weeks ago, RJ is joining me for Money in the Bank this Sunday. So again, shout out to RJ for being a brother, a good brother, too sweet me. I think he's flying in on Sunday, going to the show with me that night, and then flying back out to Boston on Monday. So this guy's a fucking champ with the travel that he's doing this weekend, but should be a great time. Can't wait to see you, brother. But his question was, I know Full Sail isn't her biggest fan, but I have been overly impressed with Shayna Baszler as NXT Women's Champion. Her character has been amazing and a total badass. What is GSM's 2 cents on her? I'm a big Baszler fan. RJ and I don't know why he asked the question. He should know this by now because we talked about this months ago. I am a big Baszler fan. she's not like amazing in the ring, but I think with her character and the badass that she is and having that MMA background, I know Sonya Deville does too, but what did she compete in fucking 2 fights in New Jersey as the New Jersey Daredevil or whatever the fuck her nickname was? Shayna Baszler was a real bona fide badass, having that fighting experience. And she looks the part. She looks like a badass motherfucker that you don't want to mess with. She looks like the female Brock Lesnar. That's what she reminds me of with like her promos, her facial expressions, that she just kind of laughs it off, Because, she picks on people because she fucking can. A lot like Brock Lesnar. And I love that a lot. So, I'm a big Baszler fan. She has not been wrestling a lot, but her matches with Ember Moon were really good. The Dakota Kai match was also really, really good. And she comes out looking like $1,000,000 with like the glasses. I think they've been booking Baszler very, very well. I know there's some people like, at Reborn Again John. I know he's not the biggest Baszler fan, and that's fine. There's a lot of people that aren't. People find her boring. Again, it's all subjective. I am also a big Baszler fan. I would keep that championship on her till the end of time, at least, until they find a suitable babyface to take that title off her, like a Candice LeRae or a Kairi Sane, who is also very, very good. But yeah, for right now, Baszler, I think, is doing a great job in the role as NXT Women's Champion. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, this is where I got to start hurrying it up because I do have to give John a call in a couple minutes for Wrestle Rant Radio. But anyway, Jeremy from Twitter, do you think Big Cass is one of the least intimidating big men in WWE history? I saw you tweet about this. Is he the least intimidating big man ever? I don't know about that. But he's got to be up there. He really just... What more can I say about Big Cass that I haven't already said? The guy's just not good. Fucking sucks. On the mic, he's alright. In the ring, he's mediocre at best. He's just... I don't know. He really does nothing for me. So, yeah, is he intimidating? Not really. I don't know. His promos kind of feel like disjointed to me, and he's retreading the same material that he's been talking about for 2 fucking months now. I don't know. I'm not a Big Cass fan. If you're, if you weren't already familiar, if you couldn't already tell. But yeah, I don't know if he's the least intimidating big man ever, but yeah, I would say he's up there. When do you think Cena will be returning, and who do you think he feuds with? I have no clue. I had heard that I think someone had said that Undertaker might be more likely. I think that was the rumor this week, that Undertaker might be more likely for SummerSlam than John Cena. I think Taker's going to be working a match at MSG coming up in early July. But, yeah, with Cena, I don't know. There really is no rush to bring Cena back. I don't want him to be brought back just for a random feud and leave again. Like, who cares? Like, be brought back with a purpose, like Jericho. Come back with a purpose. I know that he's not Jericho and that he's still, like, with the company. Jericho's technically not. But with Cena, just, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't really need to see him back right now. I mean, Raw's in a pretty deplorable state. SmackDown does not need John Cena. Maybe Raw, but, like, who do you put him with? Elias? We've already seen that. Kevin Owens, been there, done that. Maybe Sami Zayn, I guess. Anything's better than the Bobby Lashley feud, which I'll talk more about in a minute. Jinder Mahal? God, no. Cena Mahal? Fucking shoot me in the head. God, I hope not. There really is no intriguing... I mean, Samoa Joe, but he's on SmackDown. I mean, I guess you could bring him back to SmackDown. But again, I think SmackDown's good. Cena Almas would be cool. They booked that right out of the gate. I don't know. I just don't think it's necessary to bring Cena back right now. But Samoa Joe would be leading the list, the people I would love to see him feud with, just because I think Cena Joe could be really, really good on the mic and even in the ring. At Reborn Again, here we are with John's questions here. Great to leave off with John's questions right before I talked to him for Wrestle Rant Radio. Awesome segue there. But his first question, who is the less credible women's champion, Kelly or Carmella? I know Carmella's not good. I know, John, you don't like Carmella, and I'm not a big Carmella fan. I do like her, but I'm not like her biggest fan. You gotta go with Kelly. Carmella's promos are way better than Kelly's. Kelly's reign as Divas Champion, she had that title for like 4 months. And she had some good matches with Beth Phoenix. Kelly might be even better in the ring than Carmella is. I'm not exactly sure. Because it's not like Kelly, she was kind of carried by Beth Phoenix, but Carmella could have been carried by Charlotte in their feud, but the match sucked at Backlash, so hopefully Asuka has better luck on Sunday. But I don't know, I think Carmella's, she's had more TV time, really more of a reason to give a shit about her. She gets more heat, or, Kelly people pop for her because she's hot. She's a hot, 24-year-old chick. But, I don't know. I would say Carmella has more credibility as champion, but not by a wide margin. Not by a large margin. His second question, is there any saving Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn, or has creative totally torpedoed this feud? Yeah, it's totally torpedoed. I don't think there's anything at this point that could salvage my interest in this feud. Unless they did a double turn, and even then, I don't know if I would care. But Bobby Lashley should be a heel. Sami's a great heel, but I think he would be better suited in this feud as a babyface. But yeah, I could not give a shit about this feud. I like both guys a lot, but this feud has been DOA, for the last month now. So really, it's time to move on beyond Money in the Bank. I could definitely see them prolonging the feud until a stipulation match at Extreme Rules. And in that case, God help us all. Final question from John at Reborn Again. His question was, which set of tag titles means the least at the moment? SmackDown, Raw, or NXT? I'm actually kind of offended you threw in NXT because I think the NXT tag team division right now is great. I think Undisputed Era are great tag team champions. Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong are awesome. So I'm not even sure why that's even a question. I mean, it could be better, their division, but they have a lot of good teams. They're a great champion, so they're not defending the titles every single week, but they don't need to. But between Raw and SmackDown, it's a toss-up because SmackDown, they're never really on the show. They have New Day, though, and they have the Usos. The Usos haven't done anything in months, but, they're still on the show. With Raw, it's really it's got to be Raw. Raw has definitely, their tag titles have got to mean the least right now, because there are weeks. I mean, Bludgeon Brothers have also not been on TV for a while, but like Hardy and Wyatt would be just doing nothing. They wouldn't be on the fucking show. Not wrestling. If they were wrestling, then it wouldn't make like Hulu and stuff like that because they were just meaningless matches. It's just as bad as the Bludgeon Brothers not being on SmackDown. And Hardy and Wyatt versus B-Team, who cares? And I like Hardy and Wyatt, but they're not being used to their full potential. They're not being given the freedom to go all out with their promos and their character work and everything. They're not. They were before when they were feuding one-on-one. What happened to that? So I don't know. I would say Raw has it worse right now. SmackDown's Bludgeon Brothers versus The Club, I don't give a shit about that, but at least they have better tag teams on the whole than Raw does. But just the booking of Raw's tag team division with the B team, I could not care less. So anyway, guys, that is episode 237 of #AskGSM. Thank you for tuning into the show. If you want to send in a question for future episodes, you can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, you can drop your question down below on this very video in the comment section. I'll include it in next week's edition. So anyway, guys, and also, too, if you want to send in a question, be sure to do so, before Wednesday morning. Sometimes I will record these after SmackDown and 205 Live on Tuesdays. Usually it is Wednesdays, though, but just a heads up, just to get your questions in as early as possible. And if I do record it after SmackDown, I will notify you guys on Facebook and Twitter when I throw up the tweet and the post asking for questions. But anyway, guys, just have a great week. Enjoy Money in the Bank this weekend. I'm going to try to put up some exclusive content with me reviewing the shows and the pay-per-view after the fact. I will be in Chicago from Friday afternoon to Monday evening, so I'm going to try to write and post as much as I can while there. Stay tuned to the socials for more on that front. But anyway, guys, enjoy Money in the Bank weekend. I am Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.